Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the GamerDad channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we have the Division on the chopping block, so let's get into it. Now the developers have postponed the content or announced that they were going to push it further down the road. But as the announcement came, they did something that was a little unprecedented. They went ahead and made a slight change to the Striker Battle gear set. Now, Striker Battle gear set is a gear set that is actually very iconic in the Division. It's pretty much your damage gear set that makes you feel like you can run around with whatever weapon class you decide to build with, and you can do some really straightforward damage to enemy NPCs. And it's actually a lot loved by a lot of the run and gun type player archetype, if you want to ask me. Now, you wonder why I said that. If you're new to the Division, we have numerous player archetypes. We have people that sit in cover. I'm one of those. I sit in cover and I start popping all kinds of gadgets, and once in a while I'll pick up a gun just because, I feel like. And that is the Division. I'm just one of those players, and there are a lot of us that run missions and run all kinds of tasks without even firing a bullet in some cases. Now, here is my own take on all of this. I wondered to myself, why did they even do this right now? And why did they not do this all this while? Because that's a very, in my opinion anyways, I think it's a critical question that needed to be asked. Because if you go ahead and kind of like, evaluate all of this, you can say perhaps they were waiting to see if they would probably just throw all these changes together into the PTS, but now that the PTS and the new content has been, basically pushed forward, it made sense for them to be able to put something that will probably not break the entirety of a lot of the different game modes, but would at least be respectable enough for people to be able to see as a positive change. Now, here is the even better part. The better part would be if they would continue these minimal or incremental power creeps to players before we get a full drop of other parameters that would make us stronger. So what I mean by that is something like the Striker gear set, all it needed for them was to make a small tweak. They didn't go ahead and overhaul the gear set. They didn't go ahead and make a huge change. They just made a very minimal change that you could see the difference enough both in PvP and PvE, and it made everybody feel like the gear sets, the Striker items that they'd been keeping in their bag or the builds that they had made felt stronger. What if they started to make these kinds of changes on other brand sets and gear sets pending when they have this new content released? Because with the new content and the new game mode and, the overhaul that's happening, we're going to be seeing a lot of good stuff. I think the developers have pretty much made it known that we're more than likely going to be seeing some transformations of even some of the brand sets down the road. This is a good thing. I mean, look at, brand sets like 5.11. 5.11 has not been relevant for almost the entire life of this game. In fact, it's one of the brand sets that's really been in the dust in terms of, a lot of what gear, brand sets and gear sets are capable of. So I think that's where an opportunity is. If you even look at some of the named items, they still, in my opinion, require at least a little bit of a boost to allow for them to be special. And I think the developers can now take a little bit more risk and unlock the power potential that is inherent in some of these particular, brand set items. I mean, if you think about some of the more popular ones that come in the form of masks, the DH mask, the named one, the punk, the punk mask or whatever the name is, I can't even remember off the top of my head. That's one of those items where it is strong, but it doesn't necessarily put you in a position where you want to pretty much go ahead and build around it. But if it was a little bit more powerful, I feel like you can open up the door for a lot of different kinds of builds that already have different complementary type, weapons and, combinations that can make it stronger. So this, in my opinion, is a good way for them to continue to keep the, community in a sense engaged. Now, I get it. Some people have said this is not enough to bring me back to the game. I don't think this is something I want to engage in right now. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, there are other games that you could be playing, but there are people that just religiously still play the Division. If you join any Discord server that has a lot of members, like, if you join the LCN clan, which is a clan that I'm a part of on the PlayStation Network, I'll leave a link in the description for those of you who may be, looking for players. I haven't been, on the LCN grind in a while, but they understand, and I've been working on all kinds of other different projects, which I'll probably reveal here in the next few months, hopefully. And, it's kind of interesting to see that those who are still playing the game just enjoy the game for what it is, and things like these will continue to keep them playing the game, because it is from the perspective perspective of players who are still engaged that a lot of other players would be willing to come back. I mean, they have friends who may message them on Discord or on PlayStation or on Xbox and say, hey, is there anything worth coming back to grind or, farm? These kinds of communications can open the door for people to come back, I guess. And by the time they actually have this content out, potentially a lot of the Q1 games would have, probably in a sense died down in terms of hype. And even the Q1 games, most of them are kind of single player games. I think Destiny's Witch Queen is probably the only one. Is it Witch Queen that's coming out? I can't remember the Destiny one that's scheduled for February 2022, but I think this is the only one that's actually going to be a heavy hitter and might hold off its community for at least a few months. And that is if many of the Division/Destiny players are actually moving from one game to the other. So this strategy, in my opinion, is sound. They need to continue to implement it. They need to continue to let the community know that they have them at the back of their minds. And to be honest, it doesn't have to be anything big at the moment. It just has to be small incremental changes that actually shows that they're committed to actually making this game a better experience overall, be it in its final phases or in the final stage of it actually being a game in its own right. I think there's opportunity for them to be able to serve the community in that sense. But this is pretty much what I wanted to go ahead and share regarding the new changes to Striker. I think it's a wise choice from the developers and those who are able to make the decisions. For those who are able to greenlight things like these, I say let them greenlight more things like these. There are many things that are lacking right now that don't require a huge update. If you look at, say, what's the name? Hardcore mode, there's still the issue where many have been saying that if they disconnect, their hardcore character is lost. That should be a top priority in terms of putting maybe one or a few devs on there to be able to go ahead and kind of work whatever the issue is. Even though it may not be something that is on the priority list right now, it still allows for a quality of life enjoyment in terms of game mode and in terms of future prospects with the way the community deals with the entire game. I'll shut up now. Talk to me in the comment section, and hopefully we'll see in another video. Appreciate you guys for watching. Peace out.